Hello.
Hey Nelly, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good. I think you're the first people here.
Yeah,
How's everything going? How's your day?
good. Yeah, work started.
Uh-huh.
So happy New Year,
Happy New Year.
first of all, right?
Yes,
Like, I think
great.
when you get onto mindfulness and then meditation and everything, it's like, okay, what's Happy New Year? It's like we gotta be happy every day. I don't need a
I know.
special reminder for a special day, right? Um,
Yeah.
every day is
Yeah.
new, beginner's mind.
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I'm with you on that. Oh, we have some people signing on. We're gonna get started in just a few minutes. We'll do about 30 minutes, me and you, and
Yep,
then I'll do Q&A for the rest of the group as usual, okay? Let me
yep.
just make sure I know how to give you controls. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. As everyone logs in, please mute yourselves, keep yourselves muted for a little while. Um, and we'll get started in just a few minutes. Do you want control of the, like, do you have a screen share or anything? No, right?
No, I have I don't have a screen, but I have laid out how I'm gonna go through that. So I don't think everybody needs to see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, I'll just pin
Yeah.
you. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna pin you and then I'm gonna let you speak and I'll unpin myself. Great.
Yeah.
You,
Let me know when if you wanna wait or we can start. Just let me
yeah,
know.
I'll let you know. Let's just give everyone else a few more minutes to come
Yeah.
in. Hi, Shirley. Hi,
Yeah.
Tracy. Hey, Jen. Hey, Mike. Hey, Loretta. Hello, everybody.
Hi everyone.
We're gonna get started in just a few minutes. So get settled, get something to drink. This is gonna be a good one. I'm really excited. It's a very special live because I have a guest. I'll introduce him in just a few minutes. Some of you may know him. So we'll be getting started in just a few minutes. Okay, I think we'll get started. Hi, everybody. Dr. Gluzman again.
Okay.
I think everyone here is not, no one here is new. Yeah, no one here is new. I think everyone's names look very familiar to me. Today's live is super special and exciting. I had the honor of having Nitin Dogra come and offer his expertise, and I'll introduce him. Nitin has been on his healing journey of severe eczema for 20 years, and we met inside the Eczema Rescue Program. Oh, I don't know, less than a year ago, maybe 8 months ago. Time, let's check a time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Around that. Yeah.
Mhm. So he and his wife are also caregivers of 4-year-old twin boys with severe eczema. He works full-time at Verizon and volunteers as the ambassador for the National Eczema Association. He teaches meditation via a 5,000 member local nonprofit called Live Imagining, and his own program is called Living Well Project. In the past, he taught meditation techniques to AT&T employees. He was also awarded the AT&T Do One Thing Champion Award in 2015 for sharing meditation practices for the well-being of fellow employees. And you could also check out his Facebook page called Living Well Project. I'll link it later in the chat box and also under the video as we replay it inside the group. So you could follow him there. So I'll let you I'll let him tell you about his experience with eczema and meditation and mindfulness and how that helped him tremendously. I don't want to take up too much time, but I just want to say that meditation is one of the biggest, most important things that I do with my daily routine. I have been practicing yoga and meditation for over a decade, and for the past few years, I would say it's a very solid practice. It's always evolving. And so I feel like there's just so little information about how we as caretakers can take care of ourselves so we can care for our kids. And this is the perfect time because I feel like January is just such a nourishing time to go inward and to reevaluate how we live our lives and what we can do to support ourselves, and not just our kids, but ourselves in our physical, in our emotional, in our spiritual, in our beings. So I'll let you take over for the next 30 minutes or so, and then we'll do a Q&A after, as usual. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay. Thank you, Nelly, and thank you, everyone. First of all, Happy New Year. And whenever I do my sessions, I think I tell, like if you just tell somebody about chocolate, it doesn't hit a note. You just have to give them the chocolate to taste it, and then they're hooked to it. So same goes with meditation. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with 5 minutes of mindfulness so that you can taste it for yourself. And then we'll go into the conversation and the talk so that you can have a little bit of experience how this feels and how this works before we actually get into it. So I think everybody's muted, and that's great. So taking a pause for a few minutes before we start our session. I lovingly invite you to close your eyes and sit comfortably or lie down as you prefer, making sure that you're relaxed. Gently pursing your lips so that they're closed, so that your mouth is closed and you're breathing only through the nose. There may be some lingering thought ahead, sensations in the body, or maybe nothing. So before we practice, let's take a few deep breaths in and out through our nose together. So inhale slowly and deeply, and then exhale completely through your nose, gently but deeply. Another deep breath in, and a deep breath out. Another big inhale, and an exhale. And now slowly bringing your attention to your belly, just around your navel region, where your belly button is. Paying your attention on that part of your belly, and slowly start observing the gentle rise and the fall of your belly as you breathe in and out. Notice the slow rise of your belly as you inhale, and the gentle fall of the belly as you exhale. At this time, we are not deep breathing or controlling our breath. We let our body breathe at its natural rhythm, while we simply pay attention to this movement of the belly up and down. At any times, any sounds, any thoughts, anything that distracts your mind, without any resistance, whenever you notice that your attention has been pulled off, lovingly bring your attention back to the belly and observe the gentle rise and the fall of the belly. So I'll give you a minute of silence where you can simply notice the rise and the fall. And during that time, no matter how many times your mind wanders off, bring it back. And as we come close to our short meditation session, gently lifting the cheeks or the corners of your cheek up, seeing yourself smile, feel yourself smile, and then gently opening your eyes and coming back. All right. So I can start a little bit. First of all, how did that feel? Did it center you? And I think during the session as well as I speak, if something comes to mind, you can feel free to bring up in the chat rather than waiting so that we don't miss it. So what I'll do is first, I just want to make it clear that, as Nelli mentioned, this meditation is something not well known. I mean, it's still, there's a lot of information out there, but a lot of it's is personal as well, how you curate it according to your needs. But what I want to mention is that none of this is mine. All of this has been there, like the universal truths, like gravity, like sun. It's been there all the time. And there are only far and few people who got really felt that no matter what they accomplish in life, it doesn't give them the joy, that they're bliss that they're looking for. And they were healthy. I mean, people like us are suffering, or we have children suffering, but they were people who were healthy, but still didn't feel that life was giving them what they wanted. And then they found out these techniques and this wisdom. And that's all I'm sharing. So my story kind of starts in 2002, 2001, when I was in college back in India, because I moved from India to US in 2004. And that's when my eczema had started very slowly. And as you know, initial treatments are steroid. At that time, not a lot was known. So I'm pretty sure that kind of worsened my condition over the years, because that's what I was doing, steroids, topical, and I did that for a long time. Then came a point, 2006, that I had to be hospitalized to ER due to staph infection. And then that happened again in 2011 after a year of my marriage. So I've been twice to ER. And TSW, even now, doctors really don't kind of, have a consensus on. But I started noticing that, like I would get withdrawal symptoms. I didn't know the name, but so I decided I'm going to stop taking them. And then I, online, whatever I could find, as you all know, the standard stuff, you try everything, that is out there, right? Then coming back, 2019, we had our twins, and they 3 or 4 months down the line, and I already had that in my hand, that if I had this severe, there's a big chance that they will have, right? So they also have eczema. So I'm a caregiver with my wife for the 2 twins. But what's been great is that being on this journey, actually, despite the challenges being compounded, the meditation practice has helped me keep sane and to be able to give the best I can with my abilities without feeling any regret. And I continue to do that. And the greatest gift has been the change in the self-talk that goes within my mind as a caregiver due to these practices, due to these meditation practices. And when I talk to Nelli about why I want to do this session, is because I notice some of the messages of the parents of frustration. And I could totally resonate to that, because I've been in the same boat. Still, at times I would go through that kind of experience, but it is far and few. And I was like, how can I help? How can my story benefit the community so that even though there is pain, it doesn't become suffering day in and day out. So how we can manage and regulate our emotions and mindset and thought so that it doesn't seem like a drudgery every day. And that's how this session came about. And I think everybody on this group probably knows, what stress does to us, fight and flight response. So if we are trying that our kids don't go into that mode, I think first we are the templates that they're going to follow. So one thing is that we also need to learn, and we also need to lead by example. That's one. Another thing is the more calm we are, I think that's the only way we can give our best and go out and find those treatments without feeling hopeless and kind of being excited. There are days when you feel that, okay, everything's out of control. How do I feel grateful about anything, right? I'll share some of the techniques that I've used. And I think I started with one, but then you start exploring more and more, and then you kind of add on based on your own personal taste and journey. So mindfulness is one that I started with, and mindfulness is very, very universal because it generally uses breath or the body sensations as the tool to anchor your focus and attention. And the classical definition of mindfulness is to pay attention to your breath or your sensations without any judgment. So the whole goal of mindfulness is to bring you in the present moment, because all your worries and all your stress is either in the past or the future. So that's what mindfulness does. So usually what happens is, like, I'll make the best out of my morning and the night, because those are the two times when your mind is in the most receptive state. And if you can tap during that time into the subconscious mind, then you can set the tone for your day as a caregiver, rather than you waking up with all these crazy thoughts in your head that how I'm going to deal with what's going to come my way. You can actually set the tone for the day. And then if you also practice at night, you are laying the foundation of how you're going to wake up. So I think my first tip in terms of as a caregiver is to make use of the morning time and the nighttime. Now, the obvious question is, every one of us is in a different situation. I'll be honest, first 3 years were crazy because we had twins, both of them had eczema, and we were waking every couple of hours. So how do I get time to meditate? That's a very valid question. And everybody's situation, like I can say, is different. Somebody's child's eczema may not be that severe, or they only have one child and they can sleep through the night. Sometimes you're a single parent. So it all depends. But it all comes back to prioritizing, as we all know, right? If we know that it is important for us, if we know that it is going to give us the strength and give us the mental tenacity to deal with this tricky condition, then we will make that a priority. And I would give you a very good trick that has worked for me. I took a small diary. It's like 4x6, or I think 3x5. And the first 2 pages of the diary, I wrote my mission and vision statement for, let's say, for the year. And I look at that every day. So the mission or the vision statement is like, I have these 10 points on this one page and 10 points on this other page. So it would say, I got to meditate 10 minutes. I want my kids to be healthy. So when I look at it every day, first thing in the morning and the first or the last thing before I go to bed, let's say, even if I'm looking at once a day, it's bringing me back as an anchor to what my priority is. Other than you being all around, you're doing all the chores and the tasks, they are important, but they are still not the life-changing activities. So when you have that vision and mission statement right in front of you day in and day out, you know that, okay, this is something that I'm missing upon, and I got to make sure that I do it. So that's one thing that has immensely worked for me as the diary, right, in meditation. Other was that I mentioned that use the most the morning time and the evening time. Other thing is that I love reading books. And something that has worked immensely for me, and more than me for my wife, is that she doesn't get time to like meditate because, as we know, mothers always have more on their plate and there's more going on, right? Always planning ahead. And sometimes we also kind of have a disagreement or a fight on that, me and my wife, right? But then I can see she has more on her plate. So what has worked most for us is that once she comes back home on her phone for continuously for 2 or 3 hours, she's playing something. It could be an affirmation, it could be a talk of person who's talking about meditation and all those, wisdom texts, right? So she plays on and on. So what's happening is it's percolating in her mind and changing the thought patterns and the self-talk and the conversation as a caregiver that's making her stressed, worried in her head. So that's another thing that I think that works great, is that you're cooking, you're doing your chores, you can put your phone on, put any talk that helps you. And you can do it for a couple of hours every day. At that time, what it means is for 2 hours, you're not with that crazy part of your mind that is going all over the place, making you distracted and almost paralyzing you, because thoughts are like electric currents, right? So that is another tip that I have for you that you can use. I think my goal is not to particularly go into the science and all that, because I think I don't know where everybody is, but I can cover that as well. But I was thinking, because a lot of that is, people who are already in this group may have read some of that already. So I thought what would make sense is give them the tools and tips that would make more, like what I use and how that can help them, right? So that's one. That's another fourth one, which I talked, right? Other thing that you can use is put some nice quotes that are really close to your heart and that have always been your inspiration, right? There are always few of them which whenever you're down, you read them, pick them up, and you can put them different places in your house. It doesn't have to be a big quote. You can even take a white, small postcard and put it somewhere you can see it every day. I have one in my bathroom which says inhale, exhale. So whenever I go into my bathroom, like I look at it and I just see it and I'm reminded to inhale and exhale, right? And come back to my center. Because what we're talking about is that how do we get back from stress mode, from survival mode to thrive mode as a caregiver, right? So we don't want to just survive, we want to thrive. Like in my kitchen, I have a small postcard hanging. It says, I am love light. So it's just hanging above where I wash my dishes. So every time when I'm washing my dishes, if I look up, I see that and it reminds me, who I am, right? What's my potential, so that's another one that we can use. And books, like I said, if somebody wants to know the books that have really helped me, I would always be happy to share the name of the books that you can use. Now, coming back to specifically mindfulness and meditation, there's certain pillars or certain qualities that we need to develop, and the practice helps us to develop that, but we also need to keep them in mind. And they're also a reminder that if you're not focusing on those qualities, we won't make much progress. And at the same, one thing is that, it's kind of conflicting that meditation is something, true meditation is not about achieving anything. And sometimes you have to be very careful that, I'm doing meditation to be stress-free, and I'm not stress-free. You just have to drop the goal-oriented mind to get to that space where you are actually stress-free. Because if you look at it, every anxiety, every depression, every stress, or anything that is heavy on our heart and minds is coming out of expectation and not having control over a particular result, event, or situation. And meditation is truly opposite. Its whole goal is to nourish a mindset where you're flowing, which means no matter what pans out in life, you're not attached to what you want life to be, but how life pans out. But then sometimes people get scared. Okay, if I do that, then my life would be out of whack. But I personally tell myself when this thought comes to my head that I planned all this years, is my life still totally in sync? Right? There's still events that happen out of my control. So maybe I'm here because I was always planning so much and stressing about future events, and that's why probably I'm here. And that is why the life is teaching me a lesson to do your best, but not really be clinging to the desired outcome. It's almost like, you desire, but you're not attaching too much to the result or the outcome. You may still want the thing, but you have to detach from the results so that you can deliver your best, so that you can do your best. To give you an example is that if in your head, you're cooking the food for your child and you're really stressed, right? You're creating the most nourishing, healthy recipe. And I feel all of people who are on the group are at some level are spiritual, means inward looking. What kind of thought and vibration is going into the food that we're cooking? And imagine that if it's happening 15 or 10 times out of 30 meals. And what if rather than that, you have a favorite chant, favorite music that lifts your spirit up, or some wonderful affirmations going on in your head while you're cooking the food? The quality of the food has totally changed. We're not talking about the physical nutrition, but we're talking about that which cannot be seen. And it happens all the time. And people can sense that, right? So that is another thing I do. Then when I'm cooking the food, I try my best to think that I'm creating an elixir for them, like a potion. I'm putting exactly what I want. And you can call it white magic, like we have black magic. So slowly it starts to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Some of this sounds gung-ho, but actually when you start doing that, and you will start seeing the results. But even if the results don't come, I can honestly vouch that when you're in a state where you get lifted up, that's all you want. And then the epigenetics and the neural pathways in your brain, they start kicking in. And if they're going to start kicking in, like there's a quote, I don't know exactly, but the child doesn't do what you say, but he or she does what you do or behave, right? They're not looking at so action speaks louder than words. So one, taking care of yourself, but also remembering when you're taking care of yourself and you're able to regulate and lift yourself up, your child is picking on those qualities. Then you don't have to teach them, you have taught them, and when they grow up, they will be smarter and wiser than us because that's what we gave them at this time, right? So I'll take a pause here, right? And then I think sometimes when you keep on speaking, right, it can get monotonous as well, right?
I have a question.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to get started. There are so many different techniques. It can become overwhelming. What are some ways someone that's new to these practices can start to look for a technique that works for them in a way that's not overwhelming and is easy to use and incorporate into their daily life?
And I think there are few different ways, like everybody's different, right? So let's say if you can use an app, right? There's so many apps, right? And there are different meditations, and even on YouTube, right? So one thing could be that, like they say, 21-day rule, right? You do something for 21 days, because you also don't want to do for one day, because there are going to be good and bad days, right? So pick a meditation, and then it could be an affirmation, it could be visualization, it could be mindfulness, right? Or breath work, right? And do it for 21 days.
Mhm.
or 30 days. Do it for that in long time, and then see what does it make you feel. But at the same time, I'll also tell you that with meditation, like anything, like going to a gym, you know it's good for you, but there are going to be days when you don't want to go, right? And you still push through it, right? So that's also another point to keep in mind. Like the first day that you don't feel good about it and you drop off, you're kind of like stepping back. So tell yourself that for this amount of days, no matter what, I'm going to do it. And a good thing will be pick a time and amount of time that you definitely can commit. Don't tell you, oh, I'm going to do 30 minutes when you know that you're never going to have 30 minutes at a stretch. And also when you have never meditated, right? It's like you say, I'm going to run 5 miles when you never even run 1 mile, right? So amount of time and the duration, pick something that you know that you can commit to, and then do it for that period of time. Um, and also at night, I think what I feel powerful is as you're going to sleep, don't do anything. Put something on your phone. I don't know, everybody's situation, like I said, could be different. If their child is sleeping with them, if they're very little, that's different, right? But if they're sleeping by themselves, or even if the child can sleep through, you can put your headphones, right? We all have that. So you can put your headphones on and pick a meditation, and you just sleep with that. Don't do anything. You don't even have to do anything when you're sleeping, because it's all going in, those words. It's almost like, if you think about it, you hear a song and the words and the music of the song kind of lingers on in the back of your head if you hear it on and on. And same goes with that.
Okay, thank you. I wanted
Does
to
that help?
Yeah, that helps a lot. And I wanted to kind of share my favorite apps that got me started many years ago, and I still think that they're pretty awesome, and I use them quite frequently still. One app that's really well known, easy to use, is called Headspace. It's really great for like beginners who it teaches you the basics, and I think it's wonderful. It's called Headspace. Another really great app is called Calm app, which I still come back to over and over again. For me, it's great for like mornings because it's not a lot of work. It's just a really smooth transition into the day. I am not a morning person, and it really like allows my brain to wake up, and I end up being just a much nicer human being for the rest of the day when I transition into my day that way. For falling asleep nighttime, I am a huge fan of Yoga Nidra, which is it's not intended for sleep. It's basic. All you have to do is just listen, and I love it because you could do it in a reclining position. I am a huge fan, and a really great way to listen is inside the Insight Timer app, which is free, and it has so many different ways to meditate. You could time it for like you could search it by time. Even if you have 5 minutes, it's going to make a great impact. We were just here in the beginning, and if you did the 5 minute moment, you know how great that felt. And I think everyone has 5 minutes a day to get started, really, if you really be honest with yourself. And also I learned a meditation technique a few years ago, which is a little bit more comprehensive and takes a lot more time, but it's by a yoga teacher. Her name is Emily Fletcher, and she taught me a meditation technique called Ziva technique, which is another kind. There's really no right one. Also, for kids who are like, I don't know, school aged and beyond, you could actually have them listen with you as well. There are really kid friendly ones. And if you look inside the digital program, I actually have my favorite meditations that you could click. They're free. And they are basically body scans that younger kids can do as well. They're great for nighttime. And whoever I recommend it to and actually does it, those kids who are, I would say, like school aged, like elementary school aged and above, they end up really having much more sound sleep, even less awakenings from itch and scratch. And I feel like these kinds of meditations that are for kids too are very empowering because they allow kids to really feel connected to their bodies, which are often scratching and hurting them. So it kind of relinks the brain biochemistry to associate the body in a more positive way. So those are my few points. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, because I think, yeah, I've used those are really great. I've used all of them at certain point. Yeah. Although I'm in a, because mine has been so severe, so I'm in a different stage where like I don't personally use any apps. And you should, right? Because like everybody works differently, right? So eventually, where I'm coming from is that you should get to a state where the wisdom that you're seeking outside is within you and speaking, right? And that becomes your natural default state of working. So let's say what I mean by that is suddenly you have in the heat of the moment, right? Something, and right? And as you do meditation, that's what starts to happen. Your awareness. There's a very powerful quote by the Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl, whose book is, I think, Night, and I highly recommend you can read it. The kids should read it. And the quote is that between your stimulus and response lies something like your capacity, your power, something like that, right? So as with meditation, the two key muscles that you're going to develop besides different ones are awareness and concentration. So you can then you can concentrate at will on things. Now, when you're stressed, what's happening is you're concentrating on everything that is going bad. And then your imagination faculty of the mind kicks in and starts imagining even furthermore. And it makes that event into a big, big bang explosion, which is on the negative side. Now, that's a natural tendency of the mind. But think about it. If we can harness the power of that mind, that same mind can change that capacity from going towards the negative side to the positive side. And that's what happens when you're triggered and you're aware. Right away, you can take control and you can calm yourself back. And rather than, sliding down the slope of negativity and despair, you can, if you can't climb up, you can at least stay there. And then slowly, once you're able to do that, then you can start climbing up to the higher realms.
Thank you. Thank you.
And books.
Books, yes.
The book says, I love John Kabat-Zinn. There's meditation. There's, but he's kind of one of the pioneers. He started a program called mindfulness-based stress reduction in University of Massachusetts, Amherst, I think 80s or 90s. So that's like now every good university has that. So there are two books, Full Catastrophe Living, and that's more so goes deeper into the technique and everything, stress, physiology, all of that. And then there's another book of his, which is Wherever You Go, There You Are. Let me type those.
Yeah. Okay.
Full catastrophe.
Yeah,
living.
those are wonderful. And I think that you mentioned Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, which I'm reading right now, actually. I think you're breaking up a little. Yeah. So that's, I wasn't aware of you. It's like 1 or 2 pages every day. You can go into that headspace, right? And if you're reading every day on and on, just 1 or 2 pages, that's it. You don't even, so there are many more, right? If you're talking about epigenetics, Joe Dispenza has done a lot of great work. So you can, you are the placebo. Mm-hmm.
So, what happens is like some of us may be fully healthy as parents. So, but still, all of this is great for us because we can take a step further, right? And another thing is we can teach to our kids. None of this is going to be taught at schools, to tell you the truth. And all of this books teaches to take control of your mind and take control of the greatest instrument that we'll ever own. And if your kids have that, doesn't matter if they're in, I'm not going against school or anything. What I'm saying is then they can make the best out of any opportunity. That's what it is, right? You are the placebo. And there's another being supernatural.
Mhm.
I love Louise Hay. She's amazing. You can check out her on YouTube. Her books is Love
Heal your
Yourself.
life.
Heal Your Life.
Mhm.
Yes, or You Can Heal Your Life. There's another amazing teacher from last 3 years I'm following. She's from India. Not all of her, she travels all over. Some of her discourses are in Hindi, but a lot of them are in English, and you can search her. She is amazing. She was recently on Tony Robbins and her wife's podcast. And she will come with actual situations. They're not all health related, but what happens is you will see how things happen in our relationships as our child, whatever the drama is being played. Sometimes it's not eczema of your child that's stressing you out. It could be even an argument with your wife or your husband. Oh, we should try this food, when the husband think we should not, that it may trigger. Sometimes me and my wife have those, because every day when you have, as a caregiver, when your child has eczema, you're having conversations about what to do next, what not to do, like all that. And in life also we have other challenges. So she walks through those situations, and you can see that how much of stress it creates, and how she gives you practical tools to actually shift from that mode. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of books. So I think I'll pause here. I can talk a lot, so you have to stop me.
Thank you. I'm gonna be I would like to be mindful of the Q&A session that's
Yeah,
coming up right now. How can somebody reach you? Do you teach meditation, or are there other ways to reach you if people have questions about how to further pursue this or get started?
I I think I would love to teach it, but since I work, and I think one thought was that if there's interest, then me and Nelly can work on something that kind of, under this program, gives people the tools to actually start making use of them. So that's one way. But I'm happy if somebody has any questions to answer, just you can ping me on my messenger and I'll try to answer. And we can set up some time, and I would happy to go over that. So I'm on Facebook, and I think you can find me, but I can put my email as well.
Thank you. I am so
yeah.
grateful for this very kind offering. And so well said. Thank you. It's such an honor to collaborate with you. And we'll continue this chat specifically about meditation, mindfulness, and caring for the caretaker inside the Eczema Rescue Program community page. Thank you. I am going to thank you so much, unpin you, and then let's just do Q&A. It's a small group today, so we'll take your
Yeah.
time, ask your questions, and we'll go from there. Thank you. Okay. So if you could write it in the chat box, or you could just ask.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions? Not necessarily specifically for what we spoke about, but anything that's been going on in the past week or so since we've connected last. Any questions? Oh, okay. Carrie has a question. I'm gonna actually have you answer it, Nitin. I may have missed this. What is the best way to introduce mindfulness or meditation to an older child? Oh, I have an answer, and then you could answer too if you'd like.
Like mine are 4-year-olds. So there's one big way, like Nelly had mentioned, is like the scans and the sensations, because kids are very restless and they have a lot of energy, right? So I think there are yoga classes out there. That is a very good way, because then they're engaging their body and then using that as a tool to come into the present moment, right? So they can use that, like a lot of times they would tell kids like the tree pose or the down dog pose, right? And there are books as well, but I think the best way, I feel, Carrie, is that if you have a practice And although it may take time, have them come sit with you, right? And if once they see that that is something you're doing, and I know he's 8, you can actually start as early as you can, because the more early you start, the more they actually, you know, they're picking that without you saying anything, right? So I think my question, Carrie, have you tried having them sit with you? Like, what has been your experience with that?
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
Not
Yes,
so
but
much
not so.
lately. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I think that I also know that the libraries, like in my area, at least I know, they have classes, a lot of times free as well, where they're, you know, trained, you know, like sometimes they would do via books. And then because they're sitting with other kids, that is another good way, because once you're in a group, you know, there's more tendency for them to catch that up. So I think that's another good way to do it. You know, find any studios or classes where they're giving classes for kids. That's another way for you to get them started, right? And then ask them, how does it feel, right? Because when they start to notice that it makes them feel better, then you want to, but I think he'll be resistant to the idea. And I think maybe then, do you think, yeah, go ahead, Nelly.
Okay, I got some for kids who are resistant.
Yeah.
So, by the way, I have a whole section on my favorites. So inside the digital program, if you go under the section called Calming Eczema Triggers, there is a module, a lesson called Mindfulness for Kids. And I wrote all my favorite apps with links to what you can check out. For kids who seem to be a little bit resistant and around age 8, I have a few solutions for you. So I'm gonna write it here right now. One is called Heart Math, Inner Balance. And I think that 8-year-olds and around that age group like it because there's a little sensor that connects to like a phone, or you could get a separate device. And it's a sensor that connects to the earlobe. Okay, it doesn't hurt, it's just a little clip. And what it does is it measures heart rate variability, which teaches kids and adults, by the way. And this has a tremendous amount of clinical data that is behind it that shows that training your body into having an appropriate heart rate variability with feedback allows stress responses to be calmed significantly. So basically it trains a child or an adult to breathe into the heart in order to improve heart rate variability, which improves emotional well-being. This is really, really well tested in academic settings, and it's clinically tested. And kids who are about 8 and they're resistant to just like sitting there and doing nothing, it's a piece of tech. Kids really like that very often. And it gives a child feedback as to whether or not they're doing it right. So every time a child is breathing, it prompts them, and they're breathing into their heart space. And if they're doing it right and the heart rate variability is improved, it gives you a certain kind of beep. So I found tremendous success with kids who I treat using this technique. So it's called Heart Math. That's the name of the company. And then Jen wrote, our school taught us the SIFT technique, where we talk through sensations in the body and the environment, and we go through the 5 senses plus sensations on the body. So like what you hear, what you feel, images in your mind's eye, feelings, thoughts. And Jen wrote, I've been doing it periodically with my 7-year-old who does not have eczema, usually at nighttime. And if we do it when he's upset about something, it can be really helpful to help calm him down. So that's wonderful. And also I really like yoga nidra for kids, which you could find easily and for free on the Insight Timer app. And if you want to look at my exact favorite yoga nidras that your child could, it's like you don't have to stop your kid from doing something, you could just play while they're falling asleep. I think it's a easier way to, like, for an 8-year-old, you can't just be like, hey, stop and meditate with me. But if you just play it when they're falling asleep, it's kind of easier to convince them to get into their that kind of mind space. I hope that helps. Also, Headspace is like really cute, and they have a Headspace for Kids program, which I think is very kid friendly, and it's not overwhelming, and I think it's really great for 8-year-olds as well. So I hope that helped. Oh, Paula, my daughter loves the Moshi app. I also love the Moshi app. Mostly they're just incredibly soothing and beautiful sleep stories. I they're also really great way for kids to fall asleep, and I think it's more tailored to like kids probably 3 to like 9 is my estimate. Also, the Calm app has Moshi sleep stories on there as well, just so you know, a hack. You can get both at the same time. So I love the Calm app. Great. Oh, this is wonderful. Any other questions from anybody about this or anything at all? I love this dialogue.
And I think they're 8-year-olds, so like I don't know, like with my 4-year-old, sometimes, you know, when they're really in the moment, I would just sit with them, just hug them and just be, and everybody does that, but especially I actually tell him that even I am feeling upset, that I don't know how to help you, but let us both sit just like this. And then I kind of try to talk with him, how are you feeling? So that he can have different vocabulary for the kind of emotions that he's feeling, so that he's not suppressing it, and he can convey it. So it's 4-year-old, right? And this is not per se meditation, but sometimes, you know, a lot of times, you know, like and I think everybody probably is doing it, and I'm just sharing, right? The gratitude exercise every day, right? We're in the car, I'm dropping them to the daycare. What are you grateful for, right? And then at times I will tell them, okay, this is the mistake I made today. You know, I was silly and I made this mistake, right? So that, you know, I can help them reflect within, right? Because what we want is that we are able to reflect within, and they can reflect within themselves and take feedback and cues, right? And sometimes we'll do just bless game, which means we're just blessing every person who comes to our mind, right? They do not seem like a silent meditation, but what it's changing the conversation, the dialogue within their mind. And also, I think it brings out the quality of unconditional love and gratitude, which in itself is very, very healing.
Well said. Great. What other questions or
And Carrie, what I want you to do is, and this is coming from experience, and that's where, so there's circle of influence and circle of concern, and I can feel your concern, but I don't know what you're feeling inside, right? There are times when I start going into that my conversation that I can't help him. At that time, in your mind, this may sound esoteric, but I know it. If you go deeper into all of these, if you go into any of the wisdom tradition, there has been prayer, affirmations all the time. You just have to understand, right? I never believed in any of them when I started, right? But as I go in deeper, so what I'm saying is, he does not want near him or talking to him. Day in and day out, your affirmation with the feeling in your head could be that he's going to be okay, he's going to be healthy, and he's going to be full of love, power, peace, and strength. Nobody can take that power away from you. So what I'm saying is, you think what you want him to think. Does that make sense? Think what you want him to think and feel. But you're not just going to think like a machine. You have to feel that thought as well. Because that, like an electromagnet, that vibration is slowly and slowly and slowly going to him. Nobody can tell you, like Nelli can't tell you how the eczema, the physical nutrition is going to change. But same way, nobody can tell you that what I'm telling you, how it's going to change, but it's going to change the momentum. But do not, but see, worry is the lowest vibration, Carrie, and that's why we are talking. And you don't have to feel bad about it. I've been in worried state for all my life. It took time, but that's what you have to take reins on. And you can talk to me. I think we're 4 minutes left. You can message me, and I can try to help whichever way I can. Yeah, feel free.
Great. Yeah, that makes sense. What other questions do you all have? Or suggestions, ideas? Any other questions from anyone about this or anything that's been going on?
In terms of ideas, attitude of gratitude,
Mm.
that's another one, a keeper, right? It takes time, but yeah, you can be grateful for anything, right? Anything. There's research that our mind latches to the negative 5 times more than the positive. So there's a 20/80. Our tendency of the mind is skewed. So it's going to go to the negative 5 times more. It's going to cling on to that. But these practices, that's what we start to change, right? That's what we start to change. There are many great things happening in our life, so that's what, the more we focus on that, it's like you want to buy a car, you never saw that car on the street, but the day you want to buy that car, you will notice that car on the street.
Yeah.
Because your attention is going there,
I on a personal note with gratitude, I started a gratitude practice with my daughter. So right before she goes to school in the mornings, we both write our the things that we're grateful for, and it could change. Sometimes I lead it, sometimes she leads it. She's 10. She will not meditate with me. She does not like it. It does not call her. She's not interested. In fact, she doesn't like how it makes her feel to go inward in that way. But even sitting down and writing for those kids who are of writing age, or drawing, some 3 things that you're grateful for, it takes like less than 5 minutes. You could do it together as a family. Sometimes the questions that we write about are like, what are you asking the universe to give you? Sometimes we do affirmations. I could just show you our section of the house where we do all this. I have a few things here. Yeah, this is literally from this morning. Okay, I practice what I'm telling you. So I have these really cute affirmation cards that we pick sometimes, and they're like, we just kind of like pick it, and it just, manifestation, or they're cute. They're not necessarily for kids, but it was a way for her to kind of like follow your heart, like get into it, because the graphics are cute, and it just is great for people who are not morning people. Sometimes we pick, sometimes I'm just not creative in the morning. So sometimes I'll like pick a random like affirmation to kind of, there's by section. This is a cool book if you're looking for ideas. And then we both have like these matching journals. And we write under it's planner, and each day we write our journaling in there, what we're grateful for, what we're asking the universe to give us. So it could really go in any direction. And then there's this like another journal that I have my daughter using right now, because it's big, and it's like check-ins, and it's interactive. And then we have like lots of color pencils. So sometimes it takes a little bit of navigating what your child is into to get into it, but it doesn't really need to be a sit down thing. It could be going for a walk and just listening to the nature for 2 minutes, like putting it on a timer, is also a way to get into the body and become mindful. And we don't necessarily have a lot of studies that show how stress reduction in these forms translates to healing and transforming eczema for kids. We do have significant amount of studies clinically that show how important this is for reversing and healing eczema for adults. I do not think it's different for kids. It's just not measured. So so those are my final last words.
Going out in nature is like immensely powerful. And like Nelly said, right? Like as kids, I remember my parents wanted me to meditate. I remember that it just seemed so boring because, you know, they are full of energy, and for them everything is possible. So they haven't gotten to a stage where they have seen the ups and downs as such. Like we can go on to the boring side of life more, and they're kind of on the other extreme of everything is possible, right? So they're all optimistic. We sometimes can be all pessimistic, so we just have to balance, right? And so that's why it's hard for them to sit. So like any activity which is building up that quality, which is changing their inner dialogue, which is make them feel worthy of themselves without any strings attached, that is great. That's what we want, because we all are, we all have divine beings. We come from the same source. So and we all are unique. It's just that with our conditioning and what we hear from society and what's being sold to us, we just start to feel little, okay, I don't like about this myself, or somebody doesn't like about me this, right? So when the inner dialogue is changed to of self-worth, then we don't need anybody else to tell us that do they love us or not. When we can love ourselves, then automatically that healing starts to happen, because love in itself is the greatest healing force, right?
Yeah, so well said. I have more resources. I'm sorry, I can't stop. For those of you who have kids who are on the younger side, there's a really great a way for kids to engage in their breath. Also, I think that any kind of body scan, body awareness, or breathing exercises are just so empowering for kids who might not have who might be disempowered in their bodies, that are not doing what they want their bodies to do. So a really great book is called Breathe Like a Bear. I'm a huge fan of that book as well. And yeah, there's books that start with for kids who are like as young as like 3 to 4 years old. And
Yeah.
breathing is
And
important
if
because it
yeah, I
stimulates
can.
the vagus nerve. And vagus nerve is the
Yeah.
parasympathetic nervous system, and that has been clinically shown to decrease inflammation significantly on a daily basis. And it's easy to do. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I can share the books that I've used, or like I know of, right? That there's so many, and they have with visuals, right? But yeah, and every child, like every person is going to be different, right? So I think, and there's this movie, like my kids love this. It's a small 3-minute documentary where kids talk about their anger and everything, and then how, so like it's like they feel related, right? And their child is talking about their experience. So yeah, and we want to have them, and I think the more we learn about ourselves, that is care of caregiver, then we can honestly give that to our child. The Conscious Parent is an amazing book, and Unconditional Parenting, both I highly recommend. They are not specifically eczema geared, but it changes the paradigm that we as parents have to fix our kids. Actually, our kids are here to fix us. So not fix us, but they're here to teach us a lot. Like we think that we are elder, we know a lot, but it's just that these situations that are coming up, they're our greatest teachers. And through these situations, we are uncovering, you can call the unsmooth edges or the dark sides. Like even if we look at, we are worrying about something, in a natural healthy state or healthy state of mind, we would not worry. But this condition is now showing up in our child or in ourselves, which exposing that side which worries, which nothing wrong, but we just have to learn through that situation that how can we go beyond that. You can also delve into stoicism. It seems like dark and negative, but it's not. So stoicism go into like to what's the worst can that happen, and now are you at that worst? So they start from that. So there's a great book called Obstacle is the Path. So yeah. So yeah, focus on the circle of influence, not of concern, right? What you can control. And it doesn't happen in one day. You will have to keep on practicing, and slowly your subconscious mind is so powerful, your new habits will take over, and you will not even realize that you're not doing the same old past thing anymore, you know.
Great. Thank you so much. Any other questions from anyone? Okay. Thank you so much for this time. If you would like more information about these topics, please reach out to me, and we could continue this chat inside the
Yep.
community group. Thank you.
All
I
right.
really appreciate your
Thank
time. It
you.
was so lovely.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everybody.